raccoon. Yes, the answer is yes. And I've eaten it. I've eaten it hunting. I've actually had it served by my mom at the table away from hunting. And I have eaten raccoon. And yes, it's not uncommon at all. I'll tell you something that is one of my favorites is squirrel. And it's wonderful, and my mother could do a great job of it. And we all had our favorite pieces, and my dad and sister, I have one sibling, a sister, and they would fight over, not fight, but my mom and I, they were just, my sister and I as far as siblings, my mom and I wouldn't even ask for the brain in a squirrel.
Oh, man. Oh.
And delicious, seriously.
My dad loves cow
my
brain.
sister always got it, or my dad.
The fight over the brain.
Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, actually, I guess it's 12:01. Good afternoon, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. It is Taco Tuesday, and hope all your taco dreams come true. We're back. I'm a little bit late this morning. Have to take care of some business and things, and hopefully today will be a better day. We have something interesting because, you know, I think the Cowboys are lying to us. I really and truly think that they're lying to us. Or maybe they're just putting up smoke screens because, you know, so many times it seems like the Cowboys have been linked to a player and people understand that. And so they realize that teams jump in front of us. You know, we wanted Dallas Goedert. I mean, of course, that's a perfect fit. And the Eagles jumped in front of us to get him. So a lot of times I think that this is the games that they play. And so the Cowboys aren't going to come out and say, well, we want to go ahead and get this guy, because then lets other people know that are interested in him, then we've got to go ahead and get ahead of that guy. In Ashton Jeanty, we heard some of the talking heads and people saying that the Cowboys aren't interested in Ashton Jeanty. Not interested. Nope. You know, we've heard Emmitt Smith say the Cowboys aren't ready for Ashton Jeanty. We've heard other former Cowboys say that the Cowboys, you know, you get Ashton Jeanty to top off the Cowboys. And I guess you could look at the parallel and say the Giants weren't really ready for Saquon, and that he didn't help them do anything other than get to the playoffs that one year. But when he went to an Eagles team, he was really able to. You could make that case. But I don't know how Emmitt Smith can go through and literally say the Cowboys aren't ready to get Ashton Jeanty. To me, sorry, Emmitt, you know I love you, dog. I'll see you, you know, at the autograph signing in less than 2 weeks in Chantilly, Virginia. But you have to understand, when the Dallas Cowboys drafted Emmitt Smith, the Cowboys were coming off a 1-15 season where they had spent the number one pick on Troy Aikman, who was injured most of the season, and they had that one victory that wasn't with Troy Aikman. And going into that season, they weren't sure that Troy Aikman was going to be their guy, and they drafted Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith, his rookie year on a team that was just 1-15, had 937 yards, 11 TDs, and averaged 3.9 yards a carry. Are we saying that team was ready to get Emmitt Smith? Is that what we're saying? That team had already figured out their identity, that they knew exactly what they wanted to be, and they were ready for Emmitt Smith? I remind you that he started off on a team that was not that great. They ended up 7-9 that season. He took his lumps and then ended up being the number one rushing running back in the history of the NFL. So how can you say the Cowboys can't draft Jeanty? How can you say that? Well, here's what Michael Irvin was saying about Ashton Jeanty. Let's go to the tape.
Your Cowboys. Let's take a look at what they've done. Okay, they added a bunch on defense. They
A lot
got
on
two
defense.
running backs in free agency. Did they do enough? How much better did they get?
Well, they did something.
They did something.
And they're moving and bringing in some people. I say right now the Cowboys still have work to do, and I know they brought in a few running backs, and I was a little worried about that because I'm hoping Jeanty is there and they go and get Jeanty because he's a difference maker. You can bring in running backs, and you're going to need running backs, but that different dude is a different dude. And I witnessed it when Emmett got here to Dallas. So, yeah, I want that. And I think the Cowboys, I want them to bite off of something, some of what Cincinnati's doing. Bring in the help with defense, but let's get CeeDee Lamb some help, and we try to beat this. Before last year, the Cowboys had like number one offense for a few years, and they were winning 12-5 for those last 3 years with that offense. That's why I know you can win with great offense and scoring points. So, yeah, I want Jeanty, and I want another receiver to help CeeDee Lamb.
So here's my thoughts. I've been thinking about this a lot. Now, when we first got Zeke Elliott, that rookie year of Dak Prescott, it was a good year. It was a great year, as a matter of fact. But we were led with the running game. The running game was really good. Now, understand the offensive line, that was the peak. That was the best year, I think, that the Cowboys had offensive line play was 2016. It started to fall apart, and actually the 2017 season with Zeke Elliott being suspended for the 6 games and having to go to New York back and forth, that your running game suffered. Your running game suffered, and that was when you started to see the offensive line going downhill because Tyron Smith goes out, you got Chaz Green. It wasn't the same team that you had where Zeke Elliott's rushing 1,500 yards and you could rely on him, and that the offensive line was a stout. When you have a game that you literally given up 9 sacks to Atlanta and literally get Claiborne, nobody ever heard of him till he gets 5 sacks on Chaz Green, gets paid a boatload of money the next year, never to be heard from again because of one game. And in the following years, not only is Tyron Smith now beginning to break down on a regular, you lose Travis Frederick. And Travis Frederick left a hole that, Biotish was okay, but he was not Travis Frederick. You have to actually look and say, probably the closest thing we've had at center is Cooper Beebe this past year as a rookie. That's literally from the time Travis Frederick missed that first year, came back the second year, was not the same guy, and having Joe Looney and Biotish and mixing things up, you didn't get great play in the middle. You got lucky with Tyler Smith, and you had Zach Martin, who was always a Hall of Famer, but you always had problems with Tyron Smith. And then, of course, right tackle, you had a good year or two with Lyle Collins, and you had a good year with Terrence Steele, but you have not had a great offensive line. Contrary to popular belief, when everybody tells you that Dak sucks, and that they're chokers and things like that. Okay, fine. That's a narrative. If you want to believe it, that's on you. Okay, I'm going to put what I say out there. All you haters out there can say what you want. You can say I'm making up excuses and throwing everybody under the bus other than Dak, and so that's fine. That you do you, bro. You do you. Okay, by all means. But when I look at the Eagles' offensive line and see what they do, when I look at Pat Mahomes' offensive line, and then I look at the Cowboys, these are not the same. These are not the same. We get a great play, then we know there's a holding call. Or we got a guy jumps off sides, and we're 15 yards behind. Things that helped that offense, even though our offensive line was not great, even though one year in the last 5 we had Amari Cooper and a rookie, CeeDee Lamb, together. Other than that, we did not have great wide receivers per se. Not like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, a situation like that, or having a Deebo Samuels and Ayuk. We'd have Amari Cooper and some guys. The Cowboys offense still had decent running, whether it was Zeke and Tony Pollard and a combination. They were still getting like 2,000 yards. And that helped when we did not have a great offensive line because you were balanced. If you're balanced and, as far as being able to run the football, it keeps the defense on their toes. If you don't understand that there's a difference for a defensive player not knowing if it's a pass or run versus I know it's going to be a pass, then you just don't know football. If I know I am pass rushing, if I know that they're going to have to pass the football, then I'm thinking about the move I'm making on the offensive lineman. Whether it's a jab step, dip and rip, if I'm going to swim over them, if I'm going to bull rush, I have in my mind, I'm focusing on that ball being snapped and being ready to make my move. If I don't know if it's a pass or a run, then I have to play the run first. If it's a read and react, that's getting my hands on the body and figuring out which way they're going. Now I see he's pass blocking. Now I got to shed the block. That slows down the pass rush, being able to run the football. Okay. Part two, if I have receivers, multiple ones, they can spread out the field. If I know I can double cover CeeDee Lamb and I'm not worried about the other guys, great. Then I can put an extra man. I don't have to double cover anybody else. I can put an extra man in the box to make sure, or I can send somebody else blitzing. If I've got two receivers that I got to worry about, then that's going to stretch the defense. And if I'm stretching the defense, that helps to slow down the rush too and create lanes for the running back. So it's one of those things, either you got a great offensive line, it doesn't matter if I'm pass blocking or whatever, I'm going to hold you at the line or I'm going to block you out the way. But if you don't, then being able to run the football is going to help set up the pass. And having multiple receivers are going to help to set up the run. And so the case for Ashton Jeanty would be is, maybe Rico, he gets a yard and a half after contact. Maybe Jeanty's getting 2.5 because he's younger, stronger, and just more talent. And if you're getting a couple extra yards here on first down, instead of, doing a Zeke Elliott run, he's getting a half yard or losing a yard. If you're getting 3 or 4 yards, and it's 2nd and 6, then that opens up the playbook to be a pass or another run. And so the case of having somebody like Jeanty, you can look at and say, yeah, that would be a good idea. But the Cowboys, the last thing you want people to know is what your actual plan is. And that's where they're playing right now. Because if you're saying there's, no chance in hell, we're not interested, then you wouldn't be bringing him in for bringing him in for a 30-day visit. 30 visit, which they are April 4th. And later this week, of course, he's got his pro day. And I can guarantee you the Cowboys will be there for his pro day. Now, Jeanty has gone on record many, many times saying, I want to be in Dallas.
Be remiss if I didn't ask. Dude, you're from Frisco. Mm-hmm. There's a team that's headquarters are in Frisco.
You know it.
You played a ton of games at the Ford Center in high school.
It's like home.
And they might need a running back. Has that thought crept in that maybe you would be a Dallas Cowboy?
Yeah, definitely. I try not to go on social media too much, but, when I turn my phone on now, it's a bunch of mock drafts, and, a lot of them, they got me going to the Cowboys, go to school right down the street from, their practice stadium, playing in their practice stadium. Even I came back my freshman year for the Frisco Bowl and practiced again in their stadium, the practice stadium. So, I think it would just be a great opportunity, and it would be big, a hometown hero. It would be a really exciting opportunity, not just for me, but for the city and my family.
there you have it in his own words. He would love to come to Dallas. He would love to come to Dallas. So we'll see if there's anything to this, and if the possibility, it may be that, the Raiders, of course, are always looking for a playmaker and a running back, that he may not even be there when the Cowboys do. But if you honestly believe that he's sitting there and the Cowboys wouldn't be interested in taking him, you're way off. Way the hell off. So as I get ready to get out of here, I'm doing what I do, which is basically leaving a candle burning in the window for one mountain of a man in Calais, Campbell, whom it seems like the latest team that is interested in him is the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals eye iconic defensive tackle Calais Campbell in a potential $3 million deal as they seek to fortify defensive line and revive glory days of defense. Yeah, I'm going to end this. I love this. Actually, I absolutely love this. This is Calais Campbell mic'd up for the first game of the season. And I find it really cool that he kind of gets up close with Trevor Lawrence, and introducing himself to him, and then proceeds to sack him on the first game. Yeah. He said, I'm going to get you early, man. I'm going to get you early. Says, I'm going to get you early, man. I'm going to get you early. Team captain, Calais Campbell. This is the very first play. Oh, snap. Ooh, there you go. Don't look like a 38-year-old to me. Yeah. I want him. I told you. God, he's big. I'm telling y'all, you can call me whatever you want. You can call me a one-trick pony. You can call me stupid. Y'all can say, I don't want him. If you're telling me I can put him on my defense that can't stop the run for $3 million for a year to work with Mozzie, to work with Osa Ndigazua, and pair him up with those guys and Micah Parsons, man, I'm sorry. There is no downside to this. Even if he couldn't play, the amount of money we talking about is chump change. Jerry, Steven, Will McClay, go get Calais Campbell. We'll see who else gets on the bandwagon today, but I'm going to keep it up until he's signed by the Cowboys or signed by somebody else.
You don't want some youth, Cam? What you think, over here? Hurry up. Let him run the ball. Make the pass, let him run the ball. Let him run the ball. Let him run the ball. 9-1. Make the play, let him run the ball. And make the play, let him run the ball.
What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with y'all? Oh, look.
Yes, sir.
All right, good people. As always, I appreciate y'all. Let's go, baby. Peace out.